Hi, and welcome to our podcast, Healing with Horses, the #1 podcast for equine guided therapy. I'm one of the hosts, Jacci Jones, and I'm a psychotherapist trained in transactional analysis.
And I'm Julie Lewis, the equine facilitator, and together we are going to guide you through the world of equine guided therapy. Don't forget to click subscribe to be notified of our latest podcast episodes. And if you get any value from this podcast, please support us by leaving a review. It really will help us out and motivate us to keep making these podcasts.
You can connect with us on social media at Equine Guided Therapy and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get regular videos all around equine guided therapy and mental health. We hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome back to the next episode of Healing with Horses with Julie Lewis and Jacci Jones from Equine Guided Therapy. Hello.
Hello.
And this is episode 7. We're flying through these. I know. If you haven't listened to them all, please go back and start from the very beginning again, because it helps with the algorithms.
It'll make you laugh.
It will, because I want to say we don't take it seriously. We do have a laugh on these, but we do take what we do very seriously.
Yeah.
It's life.
It's meant to be enjoyable. That's the whole point. Enjoyable not only for us, but enjoyable for anybody that's listening. That's the main thing.
It's just to give you a bit of an insight into what we do and how we think it helps people. So this episode is all about the healing power of nature, which we touched on in the last episode.
We did, yes, we did. Being outside and all the rest of it, which everybody knows, or everybody should know, that nature is wonderful for you. But how many of us actually get the opportunity to use it?
Yeah.
And how many of us get the opportunity to think about how we're using it to make ourselves feel better? I mean, we all know we all feel great on a sunny day, don't we? When the clock, it's not long since the clocks have gone forward, and suddenly it's like, oh, lighter nights. We all can't wait for the lighter nights.
Oh,
what do we do? We don't do that much with it, do we? But
no, that's very true. Yes. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day. I used to do caravanning, and we'd sit out until midnight on, but we only did it when we were out with the caravan. I wouldn't dream of sitting out till midnight in my garden.
Why?
Yeah, but we can do, can't we? Yeah. So I'm not very good with statistics and research. I always forget the figures, so I don't like quoting it. But one of the things with nature is it's really good at reducing stress and anxiety, because it's been proven to lower our cortisol levels, which cortisol are always raised when we're feeling anxious and stressed. So just like, I know we talk about sitting in the middle of a field, just being out with nature, sitting in your garden, there's something about being around trees. They emit certain things that make us feel good.
Well, the obvious one to think about with this is, obviously we've now had coronation and everything else. Who was the first tree hugger? One of the first sort of
talking to his plants and everything.
Charles, and he was way back in the day, and we all thought he was nuts.
Yeah, bless him. Nobody does. He used to talk to his plants. Yeah,
exactly. And go hug a tree. It was kind of one of those things, wasn't it? But it's been shown. This is it. It's chlorophylls and all the rest of it, isn't it? That all the things that are in the air around trees and around plants. And grasses, apart from the hay fever and all the rest of it.
Yes.
But it does. It's a different air. It's a different everything. So when you go out and you just stop and listen to the sounds and turn your pods off, turn your phone off for a 20-minute walk or a 10-minute walk, whatever it is, and just get that quietness of nature. And you haven't got to go very far. You haven't got to, be in a wilderness. There are green areas in most towns, and so you haven't got to go and find a forest somewhere. Yeah. Even if you just sat in a park.
Yeah. I used to love going for walks with my daughter and my grandson, because he would literally stop and smell the roses. He would get caught up in nothing. He'd see an ant on the floor and he would have to stop and watch it and see where it was going. And everything, if I was going for a walk, it was like I need to go from A to B and just walk, and that was the whole point of it. Whereas it's not. It's about the process. It's about being out in nature just because you're out in nature,
and being that child, almost letting your mind where that ant is going with that thing, because that once you start wondering about that ant, you stop worrying about the
The
mortgage,
other stuff that's going
or
on.
the time that you go at work and all the rest of it, even for a brief moment in time.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's going to pay your mortgage, but it gives your brain a bit of a reset and
yeah,
lets you have that moment, which is just it's just you and that ant.
yeah. And it's
That
about
that
being mindful. Do you know what I mean? Being present, being in the moment, and like you said, just emptying your mind of all the stress and whatever it is. The other thing, you know, it's not that good in this country. So, but I am going to mention it is, you know, getting sunshine. I know, you know, if we're in a foreign country, we get a lot more, but topping up that level, literally, you know, it's been sunny quite recently. Just going out and raising your face to that big yellow thing in the sky.
That big yellow stranger in the sky is what you were going to say then, wasn't it?
Say again.
That big yellow stranger in the sky.
That, yeah, that ball of joy, whatever it is, it's just it instantly picks up your mood just having the rays of sunshine on you. So, you know, you don't get that under artificial lights. You need to be outside to get the benefits of that.
Well, obviously, and the other thing, those of us that have travelled or anywhere, been anywhere, I went, I think we spoke about it very early on. I went to America, up near Colorado, and it was black at night. We were way up in the mountains. It was in the middle of nowhere,
No street
on a
lights,
ridge,
nothing.
just nothing. And
Yeah,
it was, oh my gosh, at sort of 9 o'clock at night, absolutely black. There's no air pollution or anything, but the stars and everything. But the air, just you could almost taste how fresh it was. It was just, oh, it was fantastic, absolutely
yeah.
fantastic. And in the morning, it was 8 o'clock in the morning. There was still frost on the cars, and on the like when we went out, I was layered 4 layers, and within 40 minutes, they're all stripping off, and then by 9:30, the sun's beating, and it was just amazing. But you just that bit of sunshine and that fresh air and everything else. Talking
Yeah,
about rejuvenation is unbelievable. And so nature again, that's just the air. That's before you start looking at creatures.
yeah,
And we
absolutely.
say watching the ant and just watching the power and the strength of it. If you walk through, you sit and listen to the birds, and you might have rabbits if they're in the field. You might see some rabbits. All those. So
Yeah,
nature at its best is in the moment, as you said. That's one of the key phrases, isn't it?
yeah,
But just taking notice of it. It hasn't got to be a TV type spectacular. It hasn't got to be whales and dolphins diving in and out of the sea. It hasn't got to be deers leaping through the bushes and all that. Although where I live, we're lucky enough to see that quite regularly. It can be something as simple as sitting down and watching some ants carry a
yeah.
piece of something,
Well,
or
sitting next to
sitting down a tree and watching a couple of birds avoid you.
yeah, we did it on, you know, the first session that we did where, you know, and we do it with a lot of sessions where we take a little walk. It's only a 5-10 minute walk from the yard, and we were stood on a bridge near a babbling brook, or where
I
the
was just about to say it was literally a babbling brook, wasn't it?
it was amazing just listening to the sound. It literally, we because we were having a chat while we were walking down the lane, and we had a nosy in a property that was there that was new, and we were, you know, just getting to know each other, because obviously we haven't met I haven't met these people before. So we were having a chat, and then as soon as we got to the bridge, we naturally just stopped. Yeah, and just listened to the sound of the running water. And I literally felt, right, this is it now. I'm kind of relaxed enough now.
It's really weird as well, because I literally walk that bridge 5 times a week.
Yeah,
I go over that brook 4 or 5 times a week, and it's in a completely different perspective, because when I'm doing it, I'm working because I'm with the
yeah.
horse, whatever. But to
Going
do it
from A
like
to
we did
B.
it,
Yeah,
it was part of our day.
yeah,
It was so very different. And again, where it actually is situated, there's trees, there's lots of birds, there's lots of wildlife.
yeah,
And so the opportunity to do that when people are thinking, oh yeah, but I live in the middle of town or I live in the city, there's so many places. You haven't got to go far. It's just walking. Sometimes if you're just walking through estates, I know where I live, there's some beautiful gardens.
yeah,
If you're just wandering around, just go and looking at people's hedges and what they've got in their gardens, and there's cats trotting across the lanes, the roads, and things like that. So that's all nature. It's still there.
yeah,
It's just working in a different way. But taking that time out, if you can get to a nice green space and that quiet space, obviously, if you're on a housing estate, it's slightly different.
yeah. And it, you know, being outdoors and everything, it's, you know, it's been proven, like I said, with anxiety and depression and things like that. It clears your mind from whatever it is that you're doing. Like I said, I go for a lot of walks, and usually I'm listening to a podcast. I've got my earphones in and I'm listening to a podcast. But for the first time in quite a long time, I didn't do that. And the different birds and the sounds, and I consciously stopped in the middle of it and just, you know, practicing mindfulness. And I was listening for as many noises as I could pick up. And it was unbelievable. I couldn't identify any of the bird noises, but there must have been at least 6 or 7 different
yeah,
creatures that I could actually hear. It was unbelievable.
and that again makes you, like you said, straight into your own zone. It's the mindfulness thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You were concentrating just on that and out of everything else.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's like anything. How many people? I'm sure there are lots of people that do this anyway when they've got a stressful job. I used to know some girls that I used to work with, that were very, very busy girls, and they would always sit down, have lunch together, and this, that, and the other. But one young woman would always bring a sandwich, and she'd always go out at lunchtime.
Yeah.
And she'd go into the park in town and have a lunch. I mean, why don't you join us? She said, I just need to get away from it. She said, because I can't come back into it. I can't do this all day. I need to just step away from us. And we were all friends, you know, we were good. We were a team.
Yeah.
But she never joined us for lunch, ever. She always used to step
Can
out.
I ask you something as well? Since we've started doing this and working on equine guided therapy, do you go up to the yard now and look at things differently
I think I do, yeah.
to what you used to do when it was like, because I know literally you get up first thing in the morning, have your breakfast, and that's it. You're out the door, you're sorting the horses out, you're either bringing them in or bedding them down or mucking them out. You know, you do liveries. So it's a job and it's work. And you go there and literally you're like a man on a flipping mission when you're up there. You know, when I go, I'm like running around after you. I have no idea what's going on. But do you take time out now and notice and appreciate your surroundings more since we've started doing this work?
I don't know about take time out, because I think I'm quite privileged in the fact that my time out isn't with the horses because it is work, but I appreciate my environment, I think, a lot more. I probably notice the other animals rather than the horses, if I'm honest, because the horses have been like additions to me for my whole life. They're like there.
Yeah.
And so it's really quite strange. What I have noticed, which I didn't notice before, is we've got numerous animals. We've got a chicken, we've got various birds, but we've got
a chicken, just the one that goes
just
around.
the one now, the one that got away. That was literally the one that got away from Mr. Fox. But what I have noticed, I notice the cats more. I notice what they're doing much more.
Yeah.
Birds much more, because the swallows are back this week.
Yeah.
And we always have swallows every year. But it's funny because when I pull up on the yard, and one of the ladies that's on the yard has noticed as well, so she must be paying more attention to them. Because when I pull up on the yard now, they've always done it, but I never actually consciously noticed it. They hear my car and they're like little things coming in.
Bless. Just all appear.
Because I might be answering a phone call, or I might be looking for something on my phone. When I look out at my car, there's a little line of 4 cats sat waiting. One of them's feral, won't come near me. Anybody won't come near anybody. But all the cats, it's like the ding, the bell's gone, and yeah, it's funny. I do notice the other animals more than I notice the horses. I think I've always been fairly good at noticing the horses.
Yeah.
But I'm very grateful for my environment there, and I think my time out isn't horse time. Having said that, you know, I don't actually feel like I need time out, because I think I've said it to you. I said my life is therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
My husband would laugh and say, "Well, you've never worked a day in your life, you know." You don't go to work. I'll say, "I'm going to be late because I'm teaching, because I'm working," and that's not work.
Yeah.
My dad used to always say, "Do a job you love, and you'll never work a day in your life."
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, for me as a psychotherapist, there have been times where, you know, I can, with one particular client, I do it quite regular. We'll meet up and we'll do therapy outdoors while we're walking, which, you know, it is a really lovely thing to do. It's just, there's a lake. I'm quite lucky that there's a lake near me, and we do a couple of rounds round the lake. just walking and talking and being outdoors, and it just takes some of the pressure off. When you're sat in a therapy room sometimes and you're kind of directly opposite each other, it can be quite intense.
Yeah, I think you've said that before, that, therapy, because we've touched on that, haven't we? In this country, we're not good with the word therapy.
No,
It seems like you're broken, and
yeah,
it sounds like you need fixing
yeah.
and all that kind of thing. Whereas in America, it's nothing. In this country, we've still got this hang up about being in therapy,
There's
because
a
you think of
stigma
it,
around mental
yeah,
health
because you think of it as
generally.
being broken. To have therapy, you must be nuts. You must have
Yeah,
broken. The
yeah,
doctor's told you need therapy. Um,
yeah.
but as women, I think we're really good at recognizing our own therapy. We most go back to our parents' time. Therapy was over the hedge, having a cuppa with your neighbour.
Absolutely,
And they didn't
absolutely.
realise, because it wasn't called therapy, it was called neighbourhood. It was
Yeah.
chatting to your neighbours, and
We
that's
don't do that now. Half of the time, we don't know who lives next door to us, never mind
no,
anything else. Yeah,
exactly it. And so that's how things have changed. And whilst it's changed because that's how life evolves, maybe that's why people do need this sort of directional therapy, that you have to set that time for self-care.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think we've said this a few times, haven't we, that it's not therapy, it's a spa day with hooves.
yeah. And there's
The
different types.
traditional kind of therapy.
Yeah. Having a mentor, having a coach, all those sorts of things. It's all different, and it's you finding out what works best for you. And if being outdoors in nature works best for you, if it doesn't suit you being in a typical therapy room and it is a bit intense for you, then look somewhere else.
Yeah, find a way that you can get the same thing, or what you need. That's it. It's not the same thing. It's find something that fills the gap that you feel
Yeah.
you need.
I
And
think
that's it. That's the curious thing again. Be curious about what suits you better.
exactly. Yeah. I do another podcast with the bloke that
The
trains me.
podcast queen, Jack.
I'm a podcast queen, but yeah, he's the guru. He's the font of all knowledge as far as I'm concerned with my psychotherapy stuff, and I love him to bits. But I'm sure he said that there's over 600 different forms of therapy, which is, how are people supposed to know what they want to do when there's that many different ones? But try them all out and see what fits for you. There's Gestalt, there's CBT, there's NLP, there's transactional analysis, there's, using your body, there's art therapy, there's play therapy, there's sound therapy, there's
And
even
there's
laughing
equine
therapy.
guided therapy.
There's equine guided therapy. Do you know what I mean? People go to goat yoga
601.
now. There's 101 different things. It's about trying them out and see what works. Trust your gut, see what feels right for you, and does it make you feel better? And the majority of things will.
Well, I think also as well, as humans, we get an adrenaline rush and things like that when things are going well. It's the excitement of things, all of that. So I think when you're trying something new, it's incredibly scary for a lot of people to try and step out of their comfort zone and try something new. But
Yeah,
the sense of achievement that they get from just doing it,
yeah,
and how many times somebody will say to you, well, I went to so and so last week. It's the first time I've ever done it. It was great. I went and did a salsa class, or
yeah.
I played bingo. I went and played bingo the other week. Me and a gang of the girls went, or me and my friend went. And you think that is such a small thing, but for the self-care, or for the buzz it gave you, or the fun it gave you, or the release, call it whatever you want.
The confidence and the
Yeah,
self-esteem that it can build by doing something out of our comfort zone when we
yeah.
achieve it. Yeah, absolutely.
One of my clients, she was at work, and she said something, and she said, oh, I've got to get back because I've got a riding lesson. And a colleague said, you've got a riding lesson, you've got your own horse, why are you having a riding lesson? And she said, I kind of couldn't answer it. And she said, oh, well, I have regular lessons because I need to get better. And when she was telling me this, she said, I thought people don't get it, do they? Think you learn to ride and that's that. You learn to ride when you're 7 and that's it, you ride. And I said, well, would you say that to an Olympic athlete? Would you say that to a top hurdler or a top boxer? Do they never get coached? Do they not continue training?
Most
How do they
therapies
get to
are
the
in
top?
therapy.
They get to the top by continuing within what it is that they're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for her, certainly, she has lots of light bulb moments in her coaching sessions and her training sessions, and she's just grown and grown and grown, and it gives her a massive sense of achievement when things go well.
People think that with therapists, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That we've got all our shizzle sorted out. But just like everybody else, life throws us a curveball, and we need to offload, and we need, somebody with an unbiased opinion that can talk to us about the stuff that we're going through as well. Absolutely.
Don't all therapists do? As therapists, you have to have therapy anyway.
In transactional analysis, you do. I had to have 4 years of personal therapy when I was doing my training, but to be a counsellor or, CBT and NLP, you don't need to have a supervisor, and you don't need to have had personal therapy, which I don't necessarily agree with, because I think it's good to be on the receiving end of it sometimes to see how it all works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I had 4 years, but we worked it out, me and Bob, and I think the average cost to be trained as a transactional analysis, it costs about 30 grand with the training, as well as the weekly therapy that we've got to have. So it's every week for 4 years. That's an awful lot of therapy. Which is why I'm perfect just the way I am.
I was going to say, is that it? We've gone off piece again. We were back on nature anyway. So
yes. So anyway, that we'll finish there. But it's about it helps with reduced stress. It can lower our cortisol levels. It can help with depression. It increases our vitamin D that we get from the sun. Yeah. It can increase creativity. Literally, mindfulness, curiosity. It can improve, if we're tired, it can give us a bit of a zip up. Evidently, it can improve our memory. There's 101 things that it can help with. So yeah, nature's
go hug a tree, folks. That's how we're going to end.
Go and hug a tree.
Smell the tree, smell the roses, and hug a tree.
That's it. Until next time, Julie, what are we talking about next time? I shall turn the page on my very special book and see what we're doing. We're very organised. So what we're going to be looking at next time is non-verbal communication.
Or is that one?
Facial expressions, vibes, all that sort of stuff. So until next time, Julie.
All right, take care, folks.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Healing with Horses. Please follow us on whatever platform you're currently listening on and leave us a review.
And if you got value from this episode, please share it so that others get value from it too. You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube at Equine Guided Therapy.
Or you can visit our website, equineguidedtherapy.com, to book a session with us. Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you all soon.